Ethan Malik had learned to measure his days in small victories. Getting his 6-year-old daughter, Haya, to school on time. Remembering to defrost something for dinner before rushing to his second job. Making sure the bills were paid, even if just barely. Life had narrowed since his wife passed away 3 years ago, reduced to a careful balancing act between responsibility and exhaustion. And then there was his boss. Miss Saira Khan ran the office like a clock wound too tight. She was precise, demanding, and famously unapproachable. People lowered their voices when she walked by. Mistakes didn't just get corrected, they got remembered. Ethan had worked under her for 8 months, and in all that time, he'd never seen her smile. So when the snowstorm hit that evening, trapping half the city in a sudden white silence, Ethan's only thought was getting home before the roads became impossible. But the office lights were still on. He paused near the exit, glancing back. Through the glass walls of her office, Saira Khan sat at her desk, unmoving, as if the storm outside didn't exist. Everyone else had left. Even the cleaning staff had hurried out early. Ethan hesitated. It wasn't his place. She wouldn't want help. She probably hadn't even noticed the storm. Still, something tugged at him. He knocked lightly. She looked up, eyes sharp. Yes? Ma'am, the roads are getting bad. I just thought you should know. I'm aware, she said. Her voice was cool, controlled. I'll leave shortly. Ethan nodded, but he didn't move. If you wait too long, you might get stuck. A flicker of irritation crossed her face. Mr. Malik, I can manage my own commute. Of course, he said quickly. I live nearby. If you need a ride. I don't. The conversation ended there. Ethan left, feeling slightly foolish, and stepped into the thick, swirling snow. By the time he reached his car, visibility had dropped to almost nothing. The drive home was slow, tense, his hands tight on the wheel. Halfway there, his phone buzzed. A message. From her. Are you still nearby? He blinked at the screen, then typed back quickly. Yes. There was a pause. Then. My car won't start. Ethan didn't think twice. When he got back to the office, the parking lot was nearly buried. Saira stood near her car, coat pulled tight around her, hair dusted with snow. She looked smaller somehow. Less like the untouchable figure from behind a desk. It's dead, she said, gesturing to the car as he approached. No greeting, no pretense. Battery? He asked. I assume so. The wind picked up, biting and relentless. Come on, he said. You can't stay out here. She hesitated. For a moment, Ethan thought she'd refuse again. That she'd choose stubbornness over sense. But then she nodded once. The drive to his house was quiet. Not the tense silence of the office, but something heavier, uncertain. Ethan glanced at her once or twice, unsure what to say. She stared out the window, watching the storm. You have family nearby? He asked finally. No. Friends? No. He swallowed. You can stay the night at my place. Just until the road's clear. She turned to him then, studying him as if seeing him for the first time. You're offering your home to your employer, she said. That's unusual. You don't have many options, he replied. Neither do I. My daughter's home alone with a neighbor checking in. I need to get back. That seemed to settle it. When they arrived, Haya was already asleep on the couch, a blanket tangled around her small frame. The neighbor had left a note on the table. Saira paused at the doorway, her expression shifting as she took in the modest space. The toys in the corner. The faint smell of reheated soup. The quiet evidence of a life built on effort. This is your world, she said softly. Ethan nodded. Yeah. He made her tea. Gave her his only spare blanket. Offered the bed, which she refused, choosing instead to sit at the small dining table, hands wrapped around the warm cup. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Then, unexpectedly, she said, "I used to hate snow." Ethan glanced up. "My father loved it," she continued. "He said it made everything look clean. Like mistakes could be covered, if only for a while." Her voice wasn't the sharp instrument it usually was. It was quieter. Unsteady. "What changed?" Ethan asked. She looked at him, and for a moment, the distance she carried like armor slipped. "He died during a storm," she said. "I was young. After that, snow just felt like silence." Ethan didn't know what to say. So he didn't say anything. He just listened. And somehow, that was enough. The night stretched on, the storm raging outside, but inside, something shifted. The woman he thought he knew, the strict, unyielding boss, gave way to someone else. Someone who had learned to be hard because softness had cost her too much. In turn, Ethan found himself talking too. About Haya. About loss. About how fear and love often felt like the same thing when you were responsible for someone else's life. At some point, Haya stirred and wandered into the room, rubbing her eyes. "Baba?" Ethan smiled. "Hey, sweetheart." She noticed Saira then, blinking curiously. "Who's that?" Ethan hesitated. "This is Miss Khan. She's my boss." Haya studied her for a moment, then offered a sleepy smile. "You can sit with us." Saira looked startled. But she did. By morning, the storm had eased. The world outside was buried in white, quiet and still. Saira stood by the door, ready to leave. Composed again, the armor back in place. "Thank you," she said. The words sounded unfamiliar on her tongue, but genuine. Ethan nodded. "Anytime." She paused, then added, "You're not what I expected, Mr. Malik." He smiled faintly. "Neither are you." For the first time, she almost smiled. At the office, things returned to normal. Deadlines, expectations, her sharp tone. But something had changed. Sometimes, when their eyes met across the room, there was a flicker of recognition. Not of roles or titles, but of that quiet night when the storm had stripped everything else away. And Ethan realized that his life hadn't been turned upside down in a single night. It had simply opened. Just a little.